Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am very excited to have with me Nancy Zare. And let me tell you about Nancy. She is the creator of AlikeAbility System. She has a Ph.D. and shows professional business owners how to turn 50% of their prospects into clients. She earned her master's and doctorate from Boston College and authored 7 books, including an Amazon international bestseller. Nancy resides in South Florida and is a student of spirituality and recovery. She volunteers as a foster family for farm dog rescue. Love that. And with the Immerman Angels, which supports cancer patients and their caretakers. Oh, such a great cause. Her secret desire is to go racing in the Autobahn. And just in my few minutes meeting her, I could see that personality for sure. And today, she'll drive how to convert clients into how to convert people to clients without being pushy, aggressive, or salesy, which none of us like. Let's just admit it. None of us want to be that way. So today, our title of the episode is going to be How to Convert Prospects into Clients. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Nancy Zare. Nancy, so happy to have you on.
Thank you, Vicki. It's so exciting. I can't wait to share a few golden nuggets with your audience.
Awesome. So we always start out with 2 very easy questions. The first question we gave a clue to, but where do you call home? Where do you live right now?
Where I call home, what an interesting question, because I recently moved from Massachusetts, where I spent my entire adult life, and 3 years ago came here to Florida. So you know what? Florida isn't really home, even though that's where I reside. I think my heart is still in Massachusetts, in New England. And this time of year, we happen to be recording in the fall. I know that the colors are changing on the leaves, and I'm missing out, Vicki.
Yeah. You just come up to Georgia. We got colors changing too.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to drive that far to see colors change.
Good.
Fantastic. The other thing is, we gave kind of where you are today and some of your accolades, but we really like to have you delve a little bit deeper into the journey that brought you to do what you do today. So share a little bit about what that journey has been like.
Thanks for asking. When I was 10 years old, I saw a TV show on Father Knows Best, in which he helped quarreling children get along. And the reason that was such an important event in my life is that my parents quarreled all the time. Quarreling is a mild term for what took place in the household. It was tumultuous. It was, strident. I wanted to help. So I tried this technique on my parents, and they let me. Now they're both deceased, Vicki, so I can't ask them what motivated them. I can only guess one of 2 reasons. One, they were in so much pain that anything might help.
Yeah.
Or 2, they may have seen something in their daughter that suggested I could help them. At the end of our conversation, both parents are native-born English-speaking adults. I translated what I heard, and I said to my dad, this is what you do so mom will feel loved. And I told my mom, this is what you do so dad will be respected. Now, notice the words changed. And that's because I have a gift for being able to hear underneath what people are saying, because people actually use different words, different values to express what's going on. And these values, when you pull them together, form a bucket of a personality style. And hence, little did I know that that would be the launch of my career as a psychologist and as somebody who really cared intensely about personality styles.
Wow. So insightful at such a young age. So you talk about on your website 4 buyers
Mhm.
and how do they buy and how can we adjust what we do or say to match what they need to hear, I guess.
That is the heart of what it is I do. And for those who want to convert your prospects into clients, listen closely, because there are 4 different ways people make buying decisions. People buy for their reasons, not yours. Hence, these 4 buyers, one buys because they want efficiency, they want things done quickly, they want to get it off their plate, they don't bother me with the details, just get it done. Then we have a buyer who is actually buying you. They're buying a friendship, they're buying a relationship, they want that connection and that bond. And yes, you're providing a service or product, but it's you that they actually buy.
That's right.
Then we have the buyer who is a little insecure, wants to make sure that there's proof, social proof, that what you say or do is worthwhile and will actually make a difference. So they check their networks and they need recommendations and references. Hence, those Google stars and are very important to them. They read those testimonials. And then the last type of buyer is buying a solution. They are very thoughtful. They are looking for science. They're looking for facts and data. When they're buying something, they want a return on their investment. Hence, it has to have some value. And they don't mind paying more if the value merits it.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. So you developed this system called AlikeAbility. What is a likability system? What does it do for us?
Thank you for asking, because it's not about popularity. The word likability, it's like with an A in front of it. It's about having your prospects say to themselves, wow, you get me. You
Yeah.
understand me. I feel connected. Hence, we're alike. So it's the ability, the skill of raising the feeling, the perception, the thought within that client, that prospect, of being alike. That's the likability system. There are 5 steps to achieve a likability, and it starts with understanding, again, those 4 personality styles, the 4 buyers, and why they are valuing different things.
So whenever we talk about having that connection, feeling like that you get me, it's oftentimes we have to reveal a problem or a pain that that person may be having that we've experienced, that we've lived through, that we have a solution to. How does that tie into these 4 buyers and being able to express that? Is there a different technique or tactic to use with each buyer, still giving that same pain, that problem, but maybe wording it different?
Great insight, Vicki, because that's exactly what's going on. The manifestation, the symptom of someone having some issue, and they're, as you said, they're in pain, that looks like the same thing, but underneath it, how they interpret it or experience it, how they value it will change. And so everyone is looking to get something, right? If you're selling, the buyer is trying to buy something. And as I said, that first buyer is trying to buy results quickly, efficiently. Hence, you want to use words that express how we're going to get it done immediately. I mentioned they don't like details, hence you don't want to, put on them all sorts of information and statistics and data, because they'll be overwhelmed and it won't be at all to their liking. So you're right, Vicki, we have to change what we say, even though the problem on the outside looks the same. That second buyer who's buying a relationship, again, this is a person who's not looking for the data and the statistics and the social proof. They want to connect with you personally. Hence, I recently had someone who just purchased my services, and it was so important for her to learn about me as a person, my background. So if you're not comfortable sharing a bit about yourself, you're going to find that kind of buyer to be difficult for you. But if you like to talk about yourself and share and be an open book, then you're going to connect in an authentic, genuine way. And you know what? I made the sale without her asking what it cost. Our third buyer, of course, is looking for social proof, for testimonies and references. They want a system. They have a procedure to follow. They're very careful to they want things professionally organized. Hence, if you arrive late, they will mark that against you, because that is a sign that they can't depend on you. And they're looking for something that's stable and dependable.
Right.
And our last buyer, of course, wants information. They're going to take a while to gather that information. They have a lot of questions to ask.
Mhm.
They're going to dive deeply into the subject matter and want to understand the statistics that you present. Where did they come from? How did they derive? What does it mean, etc. Because they need scientific evidence before they can make a buying decision.
All great information. I don't know why I have a echo. All right. The next question I have is, how do you really support real rapport that results in real sales? So, that you make the claim that 50%. So how do you do that? How can you make sure that you can connect with that great percentage of your prospects?
So let me ask you a question, if I may. Of all those 4 styles, I noticed you smiled intensely when we got to the one about relationships. So that's obviously something that connects with you in an authentic
Yes.
way, and probably is your ideal prospect. But let me ask, would that person who looks for lots of information, asks deep questions, wants scientific evidence, did they light you up in the same way?
No.
So that's the answer to how to sign up 50% of your prospects. You need to weed out and not take time with the personality styles that are a poor fit for you, and to connect with the people who are a better fit. And so one of the services I provide is identifying your client profile, that prospect profile that examines the personality styles that are right for you. And for most people, it's 2 of the 4 styles, not all 4 styles. And so 2 of the 4 that I mentioned, Vicki, are ones that you can work with comfortably and easily. The other 2, you need to find someone who does what you do. And I know you're really good at helping people with their ability to speak and present their ideas. But you need to find someone who you can share and refer the people that you're not happy working with, and vice versa, because it turns out they don't like the chatty Cathys, the ones that want to connect on a personal level, and they'll be happy to refer them to you.
Yeah. And, that's kind of why I started the podcast, because I wanted to be able to connect people with the ideal fit, really, of who they needed when they needed that person. And it isn't a one size, every person you meet is not going to be a perfect fit. But then every so often, you have nuggets just like yourself where, immediately there's a connection, and that's what you're looking for.
And doesn't that feel so much better? Wouldn't you rather have your practice filled with the people that connect with quickly, authentically? It feels like likable, right? There's just a comfort level, and that will give you more confidence. Hence, if you prospect and look for people who are like yourself or like your ideal client profile, and you let go of the people who aren't, this is the reason why my clients have such high closing rates, because they're attracting the right person to them. And hence, almost every time they talk with someone, it's a slam dunk. They want to work together.
Yeah. So why should you assess before you say yes? And I think you've really touched on it. So many of us, especially as we start out, are afraid to say no because we need the money, we need the clients, we need the testimonials, if you will.
I've got a secret, and it won't be a secret for you, Vicki, but it might be a secret for your audience. And that is, the riches are in the niches. Yes, we are very reluctant when we first start our business to specify and hone in, and this is the person, and it's very narrow, and instead we cast this wide net. But when you cast a wide net as a fisherman, you get a lot of debris. You know what I'm talking about? The plastic bottles and the waste and the trash and the fish that you didn't want to capture. Why? Because they're not edible. And so hence, this is the reason why you want to have a specific bait on your hook for the fish that's right for you. And yes, you need to assess before you say yes. What that means is, are they really the right person, or are they taking me off course? And furthermore, they become a pain in the neck because I don't like working with them. And you know what? They won't give you a good referral after that anyway. So assess before you say yes. Niche, find the right niche. I know you're scared to do it. And I'm talking to you right now, the one who's saying, well, but I have an exception. No, you're not an exception.
And I think that's true too, not only with your clients, but as a coach who I coach, it's important that you have that mindset, because you don't want to force a relationship that's not going to work. I've had coaches where they were wonderful. What they did was great, but our personalities just clashed. And I could not be the best me, even though she or he were the best coach. I just could not be that way. And so I think that's important to know when to say no sometimes, and don't say yes to every coach you have.
You're absolutely right. So think about it again. You're the buyer, you're buying coaching services. Of course, you're going to look for what I'm going to call chemistry, right? That connection with that other person, because that personality needs to be right. Otherwise, as you go through the process, you're going to get disenchanted with your coach. So it's important that you find the right connection as a buyer. And of course, as a seller, it's also important that you find the right prospects to work with.
Absolutely. So some organizations focus on transactions rather than relationships. Is this a mistake?
You're making my heart beat fast, because this is one of my soapboxes, right? I am anti-transactions. I mean, no, I'm not really. I mean, I do make sales, and I want people, and I help people make sales, but it's relationship first. And unfortunately, Vicki, for many of us, and I bet you could corroborate this, the marketing out there nowadays is 10x in 30 seconds. And many of us think that that's the norm, like, oh, we've got to somehow figure out how to do that. And so these messages coming at us fast and furious, and oh, there's a deadline. Did I tell you? It's expiring now. This is what makes us go nuts. And we think, okay, I should talk that way too. No, if that's not your style, don't do it. And this is where I believe relationships do take time to develop. They're not instantaneous. but they're longer lasting and more satisfying and will actually generate more business than that quick person who, said it was a transaction and then you're disappointed.
Right. Just think of how many programs or packages you've bought and you were so excited, and then a week goes by and you just don't want to do anything with it.
It's called shelf help, okay? And yes, many of us have purchased programs or even had coaching, group coaching, and we said, no, it's not right. My latest audiobook is called Stop Selling, Start Relating. So yes, I'm on a soapbox about the fact that it needs to be about the relationship. When you know your buyer's style, and remember I mentioned that there is a buyer who's very quick, wants it done immediately. Well, that it's appropriate for you at that point to ask for the sale because they want the transaction to take place, and then they're available for a relationship. And you need to cultivate it. But the other three styles, you have to, again, adjust what you say, adjust your approach to match the other person. And when you do that, they're going to say, wow, you get me. We're alike. The trust builds, the confidence soars, sales resistance drops away. We've all got sales resistance. Don't sell me. But then that opens the door to doing business together when you speak the right language.
Right. For sure. So, does gender impact closing sales?
Good question. Both men and women have their advantages in selling if they understand, again, their style and they understand who it is they're speaking with. So there isn't really an advantage to gender. Of course, some of the buyers will feel more comfortable with someone of their own gender, and other times, hence, they're open. It isn't gender specific. So I'd have to say that's kind of doesn't make sense. It's not the best point.
Yeah, and I know that maybe initially as you are going out there, you may be comfortable, for me, working more with women, but as you really get comfortable in your skin of doing what you're doing, you could talk to anybody.
You're right. And again, it's a confidence level, isn't it? And confidence sells. And, again, I know you've named this podcast series with confidence. Confidence is such an important ingredient in relationships because confidence has an energy to it, right? It's kind of a bubbly, upbeat, positive energy. And people like that. In general, most people are looking for that, and they gravitate towards people who have confidence, who have that energy. So yes, you want to develop confidence, and the more confidence you have, it then becomes immaterial who it is that is on the receiving end because they're drawn to your energy.
So one last question before rapid fire question. Who say you started a relationship and it time or whatever circumstances you kind of screwed it up. Can you save a relationship?
In most cases, the answer is yes, but there are exceptions. I mentioned the 4 buying styles. Of the 4 buying styles, the one who is seeking to buy a friend, a relationship, they're the ones that are most easily put off if there is a sense of betrayal and I noticed the word I use, betrayal, because that's how they experience it. And so it's very hard to reconnect with that person if they feel betrayed. Obviously, you want to genuinely apologize, try to talk it through and explain and listen to them, even more than explaining, listen to them as to what happened, how they perceived the situation. But in most cases, the answer is yes, you can resurrect relationships that seem to have gone south or are cooler. As a matter of fact, I remember distinctly one client, I'm going to call her June. She was prospecting on Instagram and connected with someone, and they had a series of messages back and forth, and it looked like a really good hot prospect to the extent that June sent a proposal. But as soon as she sent a proposal, crickets, it went silent. The prospect never responded. So she waited a day or two. She tried again. Did you get the proposal? Nothing. We had a coaching session at the end of the weekend. So she presented the situation, and she was obviously feeling bereft. Like, what did I do? Did I screw it up? And it turns out that stylistically, they both started in this friendly mode. But as soon as she sent the proposal, it became that structured, systemized, very formal way of talking. And the prospect was put off. So when I explained to June what the problem was and how she needed to emphasize the friendship piece of the relationship rather than the transaction piece, she wrote a text message. We composed one. And within 5 minutes during the coaching session, she got a response. So this is a case where, yes, you can resurrect relationships when you understand the personality style and you're open and genuine about what happened.
Awesome. Communication is
Yes,
key.
Good point.
Communication is key. All right. So as my final question, what would you like the audience to take away from this session today?
There's been a lot that we've talked about, and I hope that I planted some seeds in your mind about the value of personality styles. And having said that, I'm going to actually give you a different point of view, which is love yourself. You've got to start with you. Even though I've been focusing a lot on the buyer and how we shift our communication and so forth, it's got to be within you. It's that confidence factor that we talked about a little bit ago. How do you develop that confidence? Well, if you're slagging and lagging on your confidence, then maybe you need an outsider that can help you perceive yourself differently, because God didn't make junk. You are beautiful and tremendous just the way you are. And you may need someone outside you to help uplift you until you know it within your heart.
Yeah. When I coach people, I always tell them, I will believe in you until you believe in yourself.
Love, love, love that sentence.
Yeah. Well, Nancy, we could talk for days and days. I definitely will have you back again. But as always, thank you so much for being a fantastic guest. And I remind everyone out there, as always, to remember that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling, going to share my slide. Oh my gosh, I've been so enraptured. I went out of order. How great is that? So let me share the contact information with Miss Nancy Zare. This is always for audio and video. So those audio, my website, findyourleadershipconfidence.com, will have the show notes, as well as my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. So please subscribe. And that website is nancyzare.com. That's NancyZare.com, nancyzare.com. Facebook is nancy.zare. Instagram is Dr. Nancy Zare. LinkedIn is Nancy Zare. And YouTube is at The Wellness Whiz. Again, YouTube is at The Wellness Whiz. You can also search Nancy Zare to find it. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Zare to talk to you about what she has as a call to action today, and also what you would find when you go to nancyzare.com and the social media sites that she spends the most time in, so you can DM her for a quick response. So Nancy, it's all yours.
So just for this audience, I have a very special offer, which is an audit of your LinkedIn profile. And as Vicki just said, that's my playground. I play a lot on LinkedIn. It's where actually I think Vicki and I may have met initially on LinkedIn. And if you're wondering about your profile, it is the number one thing that comes up on a search, a Google search, your LinkedIn profile, even before your website. So hence, you need to have it in spiffy condition, and I will do an audit at no cost. So it's in the show notes how you can take advantage of that. Remind me how we met so that I can give you some extra TLC during our session.
Fantastic. So this is the formal ending of this. But again, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this immensely and definitely will have you back.
All right, to your sales success.
Thanks so much. So this is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.